Today we have Shashank Agrawal, who is the head of security at Base.
Everything that is found internally, everything that is found externally, all of that needs to be fixed in time before any of our contracts are upgraded. Anything that we want to launch on chain, we have to be absolutely sure.
Coinbase kind of built an in-house MPC library, right? And open sourced it recently.
And we want people to take a look. Like if there is any issues that anybody finds, we would love to know about them. There's also a bounty associated.
AI tools, what are your thoughts on?
Once in a while, they'll be able to catch something good. On a general day-to-day basis, wouldn't do very well.
Controversial opinions on a Web3 security topic that you'd like to share?
It might be easier to attack one of your off-chain pieces than your on-chain pieces. And people would always go for the weakest parts in your security posture.
Thanks everyone for joining today. Welcome to the Web3 Security Podcast. Today we have Shashank Agrawal, who is the head of security at Base and responsible for a lot of the security of the on-chain development and integration of Coinbase. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Coinbase, one of the world's biggest and most well-known crypto companies, custodies over 400 billion of assets, earns more than 5 billion in revenue annually. And of course, Base, the blockchain developed by Coinbase, which is one of the biggest blockchains in the world, over 7 billion of TVL. So yeah, it's really great to have you on, Shashank. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to getting into your background and talking more about how you made it to the position that you're at today.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in the north part of India, and I got into programming sort of at an early age. I think I was maybe in my fifth or sixth standard, and we initially started with writing some very basic programs in BASIC. So like adding numbers, subtracting numbers, that kind of thing. And I think from fifth standard to like 10th standard, we were just doing that, like very basic programming in BASIC. I don't think I learned a whole lot in that period, but got comfortable with computers to some extent. Like I was still a little scared of them, like in the sense that maybe I hit a key and like it breaks the computer, something of that sort. But then in 11th and 12th standard is when I kind of began to learn a lot. So I started learning C, C++, started coding in that language. And yeah, that was a period I would say I kind of learned new concepts, learned about object-oriented programming, and started to write some more complex programs. Yeah, so that was my start of computer programming.
Got it. And did you have, I don't know the equivalent of high school, but were you programming in high school and then that kind of led you to university, or how did that go?
Right, yeah, similar. So high school, I think in the US, starts from 9th standard, right? 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th is like a high standard.
Yes.
School yes. in the US, yeah. So that's when, like I said before, that's when I did, so 9th and 10th was still basic, then 11th and 12th was C, C++, and then in my undergrad, I was exposed to a whole bunch of programming languages. Yeah, C, C++, of course, Java, some scripting languages, Python, PHP, and so forth. And we did some graphics too, a little bit of AI too. All of that got exposed to various different things in computer science.
Yeah, awesome. And so I know you had a lot of kind of academic background. At what point, I know you were in India, at what point did you come to, I guess, the US and continue that education?
So I came to the US for my PhD, and which was from Urbana-Champaign.
Nice.
And it was in cryptography. So core cryptography, so very, very theoretical kind of fundamental research in cryptography. I studied or did research on things like multiparty computation, zero knowledge proofs, different types of encryption schemes, like identity-based encryption, attribute-based encryption, functional encryption. So kind of designing these schemes and mathematically proving that they are secure under a certain like attacker model. Yeah, and I was also very interested in I began to get interested in the blockchain space, and I read some like foundational papers, like the original Bitcoin paper, and some other papers as well. And I was interested to do more research, but my advisor thought that this whole thing was a scam, and probably still thinks so. So during my PhD, I did not do a whole lot of research in Web3, basically. It was still very much focused on core cryptography.
Yeah, got it. And what was the impetus to focus on cryptography? I mean, I tried to read some of your thesis. We're talking really deep kind of cryptography primitives. Where did you get the itch to like get deeper into that side of things?
I think the primary motivation came from a course I did in my undergrad, theory of computation. And in that course, we learned about Turing machines and different class of complexities, P and P and those type of things. And they were very interesting to me, very interesting. Like from a foundational perspective, what can be solved, what cannot be solved, what is known to be solved efficiently, what cannot be solved efficiently. So that sort of story got me into cryptography, and like some core cryptography concepts of like one-way function and generating pseudo randomness, and like that you can prove something in zero knowledge. Those concepts are also very fascinating to me, and my research kind of built on top of that.
Yeah, got it. And so from your PhD, you decided to get out of academia, get into kind of the more, commercial, good old company, basically. What is it like, being a PhD and looking at kind of all the commercial applications of cryptography? Are there a lot of companies that are kind of building their own primitives and hiring cryptography researchers, or was it something where it's really hard to get a job in that field?
Some, I would say not a whole lot, but some companies do hire cryptographers, and maybe a small number of cryptographers, like one or two. And when I graduated, Visa was trying to build actually a whole cryptography research team. So they actually were starting their own like research division, and they wanted to bring some researchers on cryptography, security, AI, machine learning, all that kind of stuff. They figured out that these were the areas most important to them, and they wanted to grow in those areas. So they started hiring researchers in these areas. So I was hired as a cryptographer too. And then while I was there, I began to do research on a number of things that I think would be relevant to the company, could find use at the company. But still, this was very much in the research domain. So you would write research papers, you would publish them and attend conferences, and like some of these things were patented as well by the company. So it was still very much research mode, and then we'll kind of present the results to various teams at the company and see if they're interested in implementing one of those things in their products.
Got it. And what would you say are like the biggest applications of cryptography for Visa? I know I've heard of Visa. I know they do tons of payments. They obviously have a whole credit card fraud network, all these things. And where does the kind of cryptography come into it?
So there is basic things that I guess every company does, encrypting data at rest, doing all sorts of signatures, setting up trust certificate authorities, all of that like standard cryptography stuff. Most companies do, and I think Visa does as well. And beyond that, they were interested in things like multiparty computation. How can we compute on data by keeping the data distributed, keeping the secrets distributed, right? And more recently, I think they are interested in post-quantum cryptography. Once attackers have quantum computers, how do we protect all of this, right?
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And back then, they were also interested in, still do, they were also interested in crypto, meaning cryptocurrencies. And at Visa, I began to do like proper research in cryptocurrencies. So it again started with kind of getting familiar with the area, reading a whole bunch of research papers. And then I started to like apply things that I knew in cryptography to cryptocurrencies to make them more private, more scalable, and so forth.
Got it. Okay, so this was where the cryptocurrencies started coming in, because cryptography, cryptocurrencies, not the same thing, very, very different, but maybe a little bit of overlap. Okay, so you started getting into cryptocurrencies at Visa, and then what was the journey like from there?
So after Visa, I was at Western Digital for a couple of years. And at Western Digital, it was, again, very interesting. So my first year was mostly about the kind of standard cryptography that people are familiar with, disk encryption, for instance, or like making sure that you have memory integrity, that kind of stuff. But in the second year, so you wouldn't, or like anyone wouldn't expect a company like Western Digital to worry about cryptocurrencies. But when I was there, some new currencies came out that were based on proof of space. And Western Digital began to think, what does it mean for them? Can they build some specialized storage devices that help people mine faster, for instance, right? And I was the person there who already had some background in blockchain. So I began to study these new types of blockchains that were based on proofs of space. And in particular, I spent time on Filecoin and Chia, and they had their own very different designs, by the way. So I kind of continued to learn about crypto and continued to do more research there. Again, published some papers and stuff like that. And then finally, after Western Digital, I came to Coinbase.
Got it. And what was the how are you thinking about the move from Western Digital to Coinbase? Obviously, Western Digital, massive company, probably decent job security. And now Coinbase, even a few years ago was still seen as like, okay, this is deep in cryptocurrencies. How did you think about that move? Did you see it as risky or?
Risky now. I've been following Coinbase for quite some time. And was very interested, very excited to work for Coinbase. So for me, it was kind of like my interest in crypto was growing, and Coinbase felt like a natural place to be. Of course, there's like some amount of risk in this whole space, and I was fine with that.
And what did you join Coinbase to do initially?
So initially, it was kind of a research role. To build like a research team and kind of try to stay ahead of the game, right? Understand what new blockchains are being built, new consensus algorithms that are coming, and study new types of attacks and so forth, which we continue to do. And then at some point, I began to look into the security of on-chain development at Coinbase and Base. So I was involved in Base from the very early stages, and Base has of course been a big driver of on-chain development at Coinbase. So now we have the Base chain, and we are responsible for securing the chain, and then anything that is built on top of the blockchain, we are responsible for the security of those things as well.
Do you split time between Base and Coinbase? Are you like 100% focused on Base now? What does that look like?
I would say, Coinbase as a whole is moving, you could say, more and more on chain. Initially, most of the on-chain development was kind of mostly in Base or like around Base, but now other parts of the company are doing more on-chain development too. So I guess for the team, still Base, most of what we do is kind of still focused around Base, but we work with other teams as well to make sure that their on-chain development is also secure.
Got it. Okay. And I know we've had a few guests on this podcast so far. One who was also head of security at Base for a while, Anto from Eigen. What was that? Were you and he working together at a certain point, or did you know each other?
So he was part of my team at one point.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. And how do you kind of keep up with, do you keep up with the latest cryptography developments? How do you balance doing a day job that's split between Base and Coinbase and potentially keeping up with, some of the topics that you were focused on during your PhD?
It's hard now, honestly. I just don't have enough time. So am I up to date now on the areas that I used to do research on? Not really. I'm not that up to date. If something, if a certain cryptography primitive becomes popular, or big people begin to adopt it, then I would come to know about it. But it's not possible for me anymore to keep up with all the research that happens in those areas that I used to work on.
Yeah, of course, that volume has got to be insanely high.
But at the same time, we have a very solid internal team that works on applied cryptography, and we work with them on a day-to-day basis. So that gives me an opportunity to stay somewhat up to date. So multiparty computation in particular is very important for us. We use it to secure our keys in our internal key management system. So that is a very cryptography focused thing that we do.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we can talk about that now. I know that Coinbase kind of built an in-house MPC library, right? And open sourced it recently. What can you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, we open sourced the core cryptography components of that library, and we want people to take a look. If there is any issues that anybody finds, we would love to know about them. There's also a bounty associated with the library, and we want people to use. Internally, we have a very, very solid, very comprehensive process for building out these cryptography libraries. We have a team that does the theory. We have a team that does the review. That's my team. And then we have people implementing it. We have people reviewing it. So it goes through various cycles of research and development and reviews and everything. So it's very well hardened. And not every company, especially smaller ones, would have the resources to do this kind of work, right? In this depth and in this detail. So if people could use this if they want to, and if they find some problems, you're happy to know and fix it.
Oh, that's awesome. I know that's one of the, creating your own cryptography is one of the most hardcore kind of things you can do as a company. I think I remember reading about PayPal trying to do it back in 2001, and they're like, man, no one should ever attempt this, basically.
And it's not a good idea either. It's hard, and also it's very easy to make mistakes, and even a small mistake would be undetectable. So yeah, it's no one should try to roll out their own cryptography. It's basically kind of a well-known thing.
Yeah, exactly. And why did you feel, or why did, the security team at Coinbase feel the need to create its own MPC library? What was there before, and why wasn't it good enough, I guess?
So there is a whole lot of research out there on MPC. If you look at various conferences and various papers that are put online, there's a ton of research happening in MPC, but it's not possible, and it's not even a good idea to just take a research paper and implement it, because a research paper wouldn't even provide you all the details that are needed for an implementation. A research paper is more about the research, what new is being added to what is known. So we either, if there's a business need for a certain type of cryptography protocol, if it exists, we take that. If it doesn't exist, we would have to write it down and prove it. And then we would create a spec from it, which would have each and every step of the protocol written down in great amount of detail. A research paper wouldn't care to say if this has to be 64 bits or 128 bits or 256 bits. A research paper wouldn't be to that level of detail, but we have to. So we take the paper. If we If there is no paper, we write a paper. Then we write down a spec that goes into each and every detail of the protocol. And the paper, the spec, everything is reviewed. And then someone tries to implement it.
Interesting. And you said your team is kind of the reviewing team. Where do you come in? Do you come in after the implementation? Do you come in after the spec?
We come in after the spec. So we have professors who work with us as consultants, and they help us review these specs and the theory behind it.
And what's the impetus to open source? Is it, part of it maybe is wanting to give back and kind of, create this public good? Is another part of it actually the practicality of like, hey, we want people to try to find bugs in it?
Right. Yeah, both. So like I said before, it's hard for someone, especially like smaller teams, to do all of this on their own. So if they need certain cryptography primitives, they could use this open source library. And if there are bugs, then we, of course, would like to know and award a bounty for that.
What's your, I don't want to get too controversial here, but there's been a lot of conjecture that certain cryptographic primitives have had, government backdoors and that sort of thing. What's your opinion on all of that?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I've heard about and read about a number of things. I don't know what to say there.
Yeah, it's probably hard to know. You got to be very in the details of a specific, spec or implementation. Okay, cool. Well, I know at least from what I've seen at Coinbase and Base, you guys have been hiring a lot on the not only blockchain engineering side, but like security, like blockchain on-chain security engineering side of things. How have you identified who the good security researchers, security experts are in that on-chain security field?
So for on-chain security, I have a team now, and so when we started building out that team, it was kind of harder. But now we have a team, and a good team, so they help me find other good people. So we have an interview process that goes through various things. So we do like a risk analysis round. We would give you instances of use of on-chain products or protocols at Coinbase, like us trying to integrate with something or us trying to build something or use something, and ask people to kind of spot where the risks might be. Then we have an auditing round, which kind of is exactly what you would expect it to be. We give a person a piece of code, and they have to find as many bugs as possible. And we have a few other rounds too, but I guess those two would be the most important one. Yeah, and then there's also a presentation round where you pick an exploit that you like and talk about the exploit in detail, and also talk about how somebody could prevent those sort of exploits, how users could be warned, and how you could recover from it or build some preventative mechanisms. So yeah, so that's like the last part of the interview process.
Interesting. Well, I know there's a lot of security researchers that will watch this episode and they'll be endlessly curious about the auditing test. What can you say? Is it 500 lines of code? Is it 5,000 lines of code? Is it Solidity?
It is Solidity. It's not that big. And we have, of course, for different levels, we have different auditing rounds, 4, 5, and so 4 is kind of blockchain security engineer, 5 is senior, 6 is staff level, and the higher you go, the harder the test gets. And it's I guess it's less about the lines of code. Maybe it's more about the complexity of the protocol that you need to look at. And at level 6, of course, it's quite hard.
Interesting. Who's writing those level 6? I mean, are you custom writing protocols with exploits in them?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's super cool. And in terms of the recruiting, do you look at public audit leaderboards like Sherlock, like Code Arena leaderboards? Do you look at, what audits people have done? How do you kind of vet candidates?
Definitely. So we do look at leaderboards like your leaderboard and other leaderboards. We definitely do that. It's not easy to get people off of that board. Some people may be anonymous. Some people may or may not be interested. So it's not that easy. But a lot of people also have their audit reports, at least some of their audit reports, available online, so they can share it with us, and that's also gives us some idea about the kind of work that they have done in the past. So we have a good culture in the Web3 community. People go through protocols, go through audits, and they don't mind sharing those on the web, so that other people can take a look. Yeah, this protocol has gone through an audit, and these findings were there, and they have been fixed. At the same time, you kind of come to know about some of the researchers who participated in those audits. So overall, I think this is kind of a good culture in the Web3 community. In Web2, I've not seen much of it, but in Web3 there is, and it helps in so many different ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awesome. I think that culture is constantly under attack in some ways, where there's certain things trying to hide different things and whatnot, and different smart contracts on maybe Solana are less often open source or verified. So yeah, it is great that the space has come up that way. And in terms of, I guess, last question on that recruiting topic, is the Coinbase and Base security team, based in a certain area, like the Bay Area? Is it completely remote? Is it, certain time zones?
So Coinbase is a fully remote company. Anybody can work from anywhere. And most of my team, I think I'm the only one in the Bay Area. I have one person in San Diego. I think almost everybody else is on the East Coast, either in New York or New Jersey or Virginia. Some people are in Canada. And earlier this year, we have also started hiring people outside of the US. So we opened the position in London, I think, and Ireland, and also in Singapore. And we did find somebody in Singapore. So he's in a very different time zone, right? But he's part of the team now.
Yeah, nice. He's got to be about 12 hours difference from you or something. One of the tougher ones. I guess shifting gears to Base, you guys have done some really interesting security things with Base. One of them being purchasing on-chain monitoring for every protocol that builds on Base. How does that work? What was the idea, behind that? I think you're maybe the only chain that has taken that kind of step on the security side. So what can you say about that?
Yeah, sure. So monitoring, we feel that it's something that every on-chain protocol should set up. Sometimes protocols don't know how to set it up, or don't have the time for it, or they may be prioritizing other things. And we wanted to just make it very easy. We partnered with Hexagate, and we kind of provide a basic level of monitoring for protocols for free. If you're building on Base, if they set it up, so it's actually pretty easy to set it up, at least a basic level of monitoring. Of course, if you want to customize, write your own monitoring heuristics, it takes more time. But at least a basic one you can set up. So if your contract is under some attack, and you get the alerts at the right time, it helps a lot. It could mean that you may not be able to completely avoid the exploit, or completely save an entirety of the funds, but you might be able to save a good chunk of it. And it could mean saving millions of dollars for your users, and to show that also for the protocol, right? They would be able to show that yes, they're able to handle these exploits in the right way. So yeah, so that was kind of the motivation behind it. During an incident, every minute, every second matters. And if you have this right monitoring, the right alerting set up, ideally everyone should have an incident response plan. And it's good to spend some time thinking about it. So the program has been running for, I think, about a year, and several protocols have onboarded through this program.
That's awesome. What can you say about Base's focus on monitoring? Have you done some custom kind of monitoring setups, or what does that look like?
Right. So for the base chain itself, we have a comprehensive suite of monitors, especially on the fault-proof part. The fault-proof part is pretty complicated, and we have set up various kinds of monitors for it. We even open source those monitors, by the way, and have some blog posts about it too. And then everything that we build on chain, it could be our wallet infrastructure, smart wallets, identity base names, or things like verified pools and other protocols. All of that is monitored, and in almost all cases, during the audit process itself, we would identify how should we monitor this protocol. So we would come up with a set of monitoring heuristics, and then we have teams at Coinbase who would help us implement those monitors, and they already have an incident response plan in place. So there's all of the alerts that are generated through these monitors. They kind of going to the same workflow that exists for monitoring alerts and responding to those alerts.
Yeah, I was looking around and it looked like you guys have spent a lot of time on monitoring. Maybe even, a few years ago, I think I saw a repo called Pessimism where you kind of open sourced a monitoring system. Is there more? I think that one's deprecated now. Is there another one coming out soon that you'll be releasing?
So Pessimism was supposed to be, the name kind of was a funny take on Optimism, the monitoring for OP Stack. So it was not just for Base, but anybody that or any chain that builds on OP Stack. It was for all of them. And back then, I think the monitoring solutions that existed, we thought were not quite enough for what we wanted to monitor. So we kind of built our own monitoring tool. But then we started working with Hexagate and kind of realized that most of what we need can come from there. And we kind of also work together to build new features that were needed in monitoring the things that we cared about. And at some point, we realized that Pessimism is maybe not needed anymore. And everything that we kind of wanted Pessimism to be, we could get it from Hexagate. So we retired Pessimism after that.
Okay, that's cool. And you mentioned, OP Stack, fault proofs. One of the things that I found really interesting was Optimism alone put a lot of effort and, money and time into doing audits and securing the OP Stack and all of that. And then you guys, from what it looked like, almost took like a clean slate approach and just started over and said, we're going to not assume anything. We're going to do our own auditing and security processes on the OP Stack. How did you think about that? I mean, it seems like you took a really in-depth approach to making sure the OP Stack was secure for you.
Base Bridge in particular, right? It holds a lot of money. And there is basically no room for error there. Absolutely zero room for error. So we want to, anytime we make changes to how the bridge operates, how withdrawals work, we want to be absolutely sure. So it's good that other parties do their due diligence. We have to do our due diligence as well. So internally, we have team members who understand that system really well. They would do their reviews. And then we also go to external parties to get their reviews as well. And we then bake in time to fix everything that is found internally, everything that is found externally. All of that needs to be fixed in time before any of our contracts are upgraded. And this is our standard process. Anything that we want to launch on chain, we have to be absolutely sure. So internal audits, external audits, sometimes multiple rounds of both internal and external audits. And there's, of course, the bug bounty program, the big bug bounty program that we have that also helps people to report things that they may find.
How do you know? So you said you do multiple rounds of audits. How do you know when you're done doing audits? How do you know when enough is enough?
Yeah. So one signal is when you basically just don't find anything anymore. At some point, you would only find lows and informationals, and then you kind of know this is where we stop. And in most cases, our target is that we should be able to do an internal audit so well, so good that externally no high, no critical is found. That means we are internally able to audit everything very well. That's our standard. And I would say that setting that kind of standard helps us basically catch almost everything internally itself. And then if we miss something, then externally it is caught. So hopefully this combination of us who is already independent of the product team that's actually building these products, already independent of them, and then external folks who are also independent. So there is at least two sets of independent eyes looking at every protocol. And like I said before, we might go through several rounds of this. So yeah, at the end, we are confident that there should not be anything serious here.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. There's a saying that some people in the Web3 security space have been posting on Twitter, like your last audit should feel like it was a waste of money.
Yeah,
basically, it sounds like you subscribe to that kind of approach.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. There shouldn't be any significant finding in your last audit. And of course, the people who audit, the company who audits should be good, right? And they shouldn't be able to find anything interesting.
So in terms of your internal security team, you've been building it out. You have these different, levels and ways of hiring. I think there was an announcement maybe this summer that some of the teams that build on Base can get access to your internal auditing team and get maybe it was a security review from that team. How does that process or program work?
It's a small program. We can review or we review a very small number of protocols that are building on Base or have built on Base. So people can apply. We are accepting applications all the time, but really we can only review a small number of protocols at any given time, a very small number. And this is not supposed to be a replacement for a proper audit. We do it on a best effort basis, and we can only dedicate some amount of time to these reviews. So we do the best we can, and we make it very clear that you should still get a proper audit from companies like you or from other companies. But yeah, it's still a small program, and we have reviewed a small number of protocols so far.
Got it. And what's the criteria if a protocol wanted to apply? Is it protocols that you assess will have the greatest impact on Base, or is it some other criteria?
Right. So the selection of protocols is actually outside of my team's scope. We have other teams, the Base ecosystem team, and the Base. There's other people working on Base, and who kind of spend more time on this and who have closer relationships and knowledge of what's going on in the ecosystem more broadly, and they select the protocols kind of for us, and then we review them. Yeah, so they have their own criteria, and of course impact is one, but there could be other criteria too, and our job is to do a good review.
Yeah, makes sense. I think I was reading something that your team uses fuzzing and some other types of testing. What can you say about how your internal security team prioritizes different types of security, I guess, like fuzzing or manual review?
So we do use some tools, and I mean, some of those tools are very well known, but most of the value comes from manual auditing. I don't think there is anything that replaces actual humans looking at the code and finding problems. The tools kind of can help a little bit. Most of these tools have false positives too, and of course, everyone's looking at AI these days, and the hope is that maybe AI tools can get to a point where they can also catch some criticals and highs themselves. I'm not sure we are at that stage yet. So internally, at least as of today, most of what we do is very manual. There is we use tools, but to a certain extent, and most of the critical findings still come from manual reviews.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned AI tools. What are your thoughts on the AI auditing tools? Do you think they can be effective? Do you think they replace human auditors at some point in the future?
AI is moving very fast. Everyone's kind of coming out with their own AI agent to detect smart contract vulnerabilities. Our experience so far has been kind of mixed so far, and it could change in the next few months, few quarters. But so far it has been kind of mixed. Still, the false positive problem is there. They're also not very deterministic. So, if you run them again, you find something else, different descriptions, different severity levels. And once in a while, they'll be able to catch something good. But on a general day-to-day basis, especially when you give AI a new type of protocol, it wouldn't do very well. That's been our experience. But we are excited about AI, and things are moving very fast. So we want to look at the different tools that various companies are building. Like you're also building a tool. So we want to look at those tools and see if they can be adopted. We would want to test them out internally first, see if they work well for our needs, and if they are up to the standard where false positive rate is low and recall is good. And then we may also consider offering it to people outside of Coinbase, outside of Base.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. And where do you have an opinion on where you think AI auditing goes? Does it stop, somewhere and kind of its effectiveness falls off? Or do you think it just keeps getting better? How do you think about it?
I think there is definitely room to get better, a lot of room. So I think at least for I'm not an AI expert by any means. So at least, but I can see that for the next 1 or 2 years at least, it'll just keep getting better and better and better. But at some point, the returns would start getting more smaller. But at least for now, there is a lot of room to get better. So I also feel that maybe there is just not enough Solidity code out there in the world as compared to, say, the amount of code written in other languages. And that could be a reason why on smart contract languages like Solidity, AI tools generally don't do that well.
Yeah, makes sense. And I guess in terms of AI tooling, I mean, I've seen some of Brian Armstrong's tweets about hey, our company, I think he said 40% of the code we write at Coinbase is AI generated or used. Someone used AI and he's trying to push it to 50%. Is this also true on the security team? Do you use AI tools to write code? How do you kind of think about it?
So AI is definitely has been a big push at the company. So we want to adopt AI into as many work streams as possible. So writing code is one, reviewing code is another one. Then the use of AI for threat modeling, use of AI for risk assessment, use of AI for smart contract vulnerability detection. So we want to adopt AI as much as possible, wherever possible. And in some cases, we have writing code, right? We have already made quite a bit of progress. And in some cases, we are still in the exploratory phase. Say for smart contract vulnerability detection, we're still in a phase where we are evaluating tools, but we haven't really come across a tool that's made us very happy. So yeah, but in any case, as Brian says, we want to adopt AI and make our processes efficient across the company in any work stream possible.
Cool. Let me see. So you were also talking earlier about doing multiple rounds of security reviews. I know at some points you've done audit contests for code bases with Base and maybe some others as well. How do you think about audit contests and when you use them and when you don't?
We have done some audit contests. I don't think we have done that many. So my take would be that certainly review everything internally first. So you would ideally, as a development team or internal security team, you want to catch at least all the small things up front, so that your external auditors can focus on the bigger things, right? So do as good of a job internally first, then externally. Maybe the first round of auditing should be private. So a small number of researchers, 2 or 3 or 4, take a look at your contracts and find problems. You can fix them, and then maybe a second round of auditing, or in some cases a third round of auditing, could be a contest, an open public contest, where hopefully a larger number of researchers would try to attack your protocol and find problems, you fix it. That's how I would kind of approach it.
Yeah, makes sense. So for critical kind of code where you want to do 2 or 3 different rounds of audits, that can be part of the closer to the end of the process.
Yeah.
And you also, where I saw something that I believe it was Base, completed some like wargaming simulations. What can you say about that and how that kind of fits into the security mindset overall?
So we do on a regular basis tabletop exercises to simulate some bad scenarios. Like, what if this happens on Base? How would people react? So we invite all the relevant parties. It could be people from security, engineering, legal, compliance. So we invite everybody, and we also put like certain people on alert that look, at this time this tabletop exercise is going to happen. So be available, and we might need you for decision making, right? At that point. So we do this on a regular basis, and we kind of consider some like really bad cases, really bad situations, and kind of try to push ourselves to the limit. Like, what if this really bad thing happens on Base? How would we react to it? What kind of measures we will take to recover from it? So we do that exercise, and in every exercise we would learn things. Like, we would identify gaps and then go back and try to address those gaps. And in one case, we also did a tabletop with an external party. So Seal, they helped us run the tabletop, and I think maybe that's what you were referring to earlier. And
Yeah.
it was both Base and Optimism who participated in that exercise. So I think this was a while ago, so I don't remember all the details. But I think they set up like a test chain and kind of tried to exploit that test chain. And we were supposed to assume that that test chain is like our chain. So we could, we had certain things that we could do. It was also a test for our monitoring system. So we kind of pointed our monitors through that test chain, and also got a chance to test if our monitors actually would fire off if something bad happens. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think this is something that, every chain should do? Do you think protocols built on top of chains should be doing it? What was your experience?
I mean, ideally, everyone should do this kind of an exercise. So everyone should have an incident response plan, really. And this sort of an exercise, that the more time you put into it, that the better it will go. So it may not always be easy to find time to organize it, but it actually has a lot of value. And as your protocol or like your chain grows bigger and bigger, it becomes a bigger target for attacks, right? So you should very actively think about if you were attacked. Like, of course, you go through all the audits and reviews and whatnot, right? But it might still be possible that you miss something. So you should be prepared for the absolute worst cases. It might be odd to think about them sometimes, but it's good to think about them.
Yeah, you don't want to think about it for the first time when it's happening. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And I guess one of the other measures, audits and whatnot, can help prevent that. Another one is bug bounties. You guys run, I believe, 2 different external bug bounty programs. I think I saw you have an internal hotline for bug bounties. How do you think about bug bounty programs and their value?
Yeah, no, bug bounties are great. We have 2, exactly what you said. We have 2. For Web 2, we have HackerOne, and for Web 3, we have a different one. And we originally had just one, the one through HackerOne, but we kind of realized that we are not getting very good Web 3 related submissions, so we set up a separate one for Web 3. And it's a part of a wider effort to engage the community, to get people to spend some time trying to poke holes in our systems, in our contracts, and if they find something, then they can report it to us. They'll be rewarded for it, and it gives us an opportunity to fix it in time before it affects anybody else. So I think bounties are very important. Everyone, it's also something that is easy to set up. Similar to monitoring, at least a basic level of monitoring is easy to set up. So in a similar way, I think a basic level of bug bounties are also easy to set up. And maybe initially, again, as your protocol grows, maybe initially the rewards may be low, but as you're growing, you can up the rewards to maybe get more attention on the platform, and hopefully some white hat attacker may able to catch things first before somebody else does, and then you have an opportunity to fix it.
Yeah, I agree. I think bug bounty programs are great. Have you seen any change in bug bounty submissions with AI? We've heard from some areas that the number of submissions has increased. I don't know. Have you seen that on your internal hotline or experienced that in any way?
Yeah. So now people can use AI to submit reports, and these reports they may look very elaborate, very detailed, but yeah, when you take a look at it, take a closer look, you realize kind of that it may be AI generated. And it leads to a lot of course, there's extra work now for the triagers. And sometimes a report may look very, very legitimate, and then you spend a lot of time on it only to find that it makes some invalid assumption, or the POC is bad for some reason. So there is more work now with the use of AI. So we have to again kind of use AI on the other side,
Right.
to be able to classify these submissions, and maybe have some agent that does an initial round of triaging, right? So those things also need to be looked at. But yeah, because of AI, we are seeing maybe more invalid but legitimate looking submissions than we did before.
Yeah, it's a tricky problem, and I agree. I think using AI to combat it in some way is part of the solution. I guess in terms of your career path and the role that you have now, a lot of security researchers who watch this might be interested in making it to a role like yours one day. Head of security at a large blockchain. What advice do you have for someone who's maybe younger, starting their career, to get to a role like yours someday?
I don't think there is a very well defined path. I have met with a number of security professionals in the past, and everyone had their own journey of getting where they are. So I don't think there is one very well defined path. My own journey has been kind of a different kind, right? Starting from cryptography, then slowly getting into blockchains, and slowly getting into blockchain security. So yeah, it was a longer path, and I learned a lot of different things along the way. It also gives me a broader perspective of things. So when I look at a blockchain, I kind of, I guess, see more things. Maybe able to notice more attack surfaces or more types of risks with the blockchain than just the smart contract portion of it, right? Yeah. So for people who are new to this field, well, if security is something that interests you, then I think starting from maybe auditing smart contracts is could be a good starting point, right? So that makes you familiar with at least the execution environment of these blockchains. But along the way, I guess try to learn about the other aspects of a blockchain, the consensus parts of a blockchain, block building, and there's so much more to it, right? Of course, for protocols, even many of the off-chain pieces, like how do you manage keys, is also pretty important. I guess kind of building a more holistic approach, and learning about these various components could get you into a good spot, and maybe help you with your role if you're interested in like a security role. Then this sort of a more holistic understanding of blockchains. And we kind of mostly focus on the on-chain pieces, but the off-chain pieces are also very important for security, right? Building this kind of holistic understanding over time would help a lot.
Got it. Yeah, it's not just about the Solidity smart contracts. There's a lot of other vectors you have to be proficient at. In terms of, Web3 security, as we just spoke about, a lot of different aspects of it. Do you feel that you have any particularly controversial opinions on a Web3 security topic that you'd like to share?
I don't know if it is controversial, but so I see that. So there is, of course, different types of like ways of approaching security. So there is a certain set of folks who would not worry about security so much, and if they maybe focus more on development, not so much on security. They don't have anything dedicated. They don't have anybody dedicated to security on their team. It happens especially in early stages. And then there is maybe a set of folks who kind of really focus only on the smart contract pieces. And if they get an audit of the smart contract, they're like, yeah, good, you're all good to go. But like I was saying before, this gives you protection against one type of attack. And I think in the last 1 or 2 years, you're seeing many attacks where something off the chain was compromised. One of your keys were stolen somehow, or you were made to sign a transaction that you weren't supposed to sign. So those off-chain pieces are equally important, very important, especially if you have like these privileged roles in your contracts. Then protecting keys for those privileged roles is very important. And of course, like what you're signing is critically important. So all these pieces of your infrastructure are very critical, and they need to be looked at as well. And similar to how, so it's good if somebody's paying attention to their contract, they should also pay attention to these off-chain pieces as well. Again, as you grow and maybe your TVL hits in hundreds of millions or like billions or something, then it might be easier to attack one of your off-chain pieces than your on-chain pieces. And people would always go for the weakest parts in your security posture. Again, like I said, it's not nothing controversial. I'm not saying anything new here, but yeah, it is very important to pay attention to all these other aspects. Even if you are a fully on-chain protocol, and you may be doing the most interesting things on the chain. All of these off-chain pieces are also important, and they need to be looked at as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've definitely seen the key compromises, the front end kind of compromises, and that sort of thing. And those get way less airtime than the smart contract, contests and vulnerabilities and things that people hear about all the time. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, I know we're running up on time here. We'd love to get a couple more in. What are kind of your favorite security events throughout the year? Do you go to some of the more, DeFi, Ethereum aligned ones? You go to the cryptography conferences? Yeah. What is it like for you and your team?
Right. So we try to attend some conferences during the year. I attended DevCon last year, and I attended Token 2049 this year. It's hard to attend maybe more than 1 or 2 conferences every year. If something is local, then it's somewhat easier. So one conference that is more, I guess, more academically inclined is the Science of Blockchain conference. It used to be called Stanford Blockchains Conference. I think it's called Science of Blockchain Conference now. So whenever it's in the Bay Area, I definitely try to attend it. And then and there is like, ETH Denver, ETH CC, those conferences as well. So either myself or some other person on the team would go to these conferences and try to connect with people and try to learn from there. So I guess that's how we approach conferences. And every once in a while we would also have a speaking slot. So we have one speaking slot at DSS coming up in November, where a person from my team is going to talk about bridging between 2 different execution environments, like bridging between, say, an Ethereum-based one and a Solana-based one. What does it entail? So yeah, but conference participation is great. Like, yeah, a lot of learning and a lot of connection opportunities there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited for DSS this year as well. Should be a good one. I guess in terms of, last question, in terms of what's going on with Base or Coinbase, what's the most, what are kind of the most exciting things on the roadmap, or what areas are you most excited about in the future here?
So Coinbase is bringing more and more things on the chain. You may have heard about our acquisitions this year. We acquired Spindle. We acquired Ironfish that had its own private blockchain, and we recently acquired Echo. That's for capital formation on chain. So we are trying to move as many things as possible on the chain. So that means there is more to secure, right? And in addition to that, you're also bringing more things to our exchange app, our retail app, right? Right now, it primarily deals with crypto tokens, right? But we want to bring traditional equities and everything on the exchange as well. And some of this might also be tokenized and may have a representation on chain. So again, that's another thing for us to think about and secure. So there's just so much work and activity at the company right now to try to bring as much of the traditional economy on the chain. We are very excited about it, and of course, it also means there's a lot of work for us to do to secure it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I love to see that. I know Coinbase has been doing that for a long time. I guess Base was one of the big kind of initial forays. And yeah, I think a lot of the exciting and innovative things are happening on chain. That's where Sherlock is spending a lot of time, all of its time really, as well. So love to hear that, more and more things are coming on chain and will need securing essentially.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining. Really great hearing all the different aspects of what's going on at Coinbase and Base. And yeah, thanks for coming on today, Shashank.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me.